Honorable Speaker, I present the budget for 24-25.
The date is July 23rd, 2024.
The budget under Modi 3.0.
It's a big Monday in the Parliament because remember the budget discussions are still on. And
The eyes of the entire nation are glued to their screens and, more importantly, on one person.
माननीय वित्त मंत्री
Nirmala Sitharaman.
and Finance Minister.
Mr. Nirmala Sitharaman.
Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman.
By the evening of this day, the TV screens were packed to the brim with the chatter about ITRs, taxes, capital gains, all the stuff that youngsters might have ignored.
Centralization when it comes to short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains.
And more whatever is impacting from the budget.
After a long day of jargon-laced graphs, charts and indices in either colleges, offices or schools, sitting back and enjoying domestic comfort sounds like a better alternative than indulging with these matrices all over again. After all, for the common folks, market opens all the same. It's the same hustle of going to the market, looking for the stuff we need and then buying it, be it stationery, fruits or vegetables. And in this hustle, do our minds recap the same graphs and charts we talked about earlier? Probably not. But it should. Because the question remains, how do taxes matter when you are buying a toothbrush? Let us understand how taxes affect you first, with a weapon mightier than the sword. Here we have a set of pens. These pens are currency. Now, the government needs this currency to generate more resources. This might sound a little complicated, but for now, let us leave it at that. But this currency that the government needs, it's going to get some part of it from you. This is called a tax. But the government needs to make sure that you earn enough to generate this tax. Let's say you earn 20 pence monthly. So, the government is not really interested in taking your pens away. But what decides the number of pens that you are going to pay in this situation? Because if you think that someone having 30 pens should not pay the same amount as someone having 40 pens, you will be absolutely right. And this is where tax slabs come in, which basically mean that people earning different salaries will pay different taxes. So every year in the budget, there is either an introduction or an update concerning tax slabs. For example, if you have 30 pens, you might need to give only 5 pens away. If you have 40 pens, then that number might dial up to 10. This year too, there were a few changes in the tax slabs. Let's recap.
In the new tax regime, the tax rate structure is proposed to be revised as follows. 0 to 3 lakh rupees, nil. 3 to 7 lakh rupees, 5%. 7 to 10 lakh rupees, 10%. 10 to 12 lakh rupees, 15%. 12 to 15 lakh rupees, 20%. And above 15 lakh rupees, 30%.
But this story does not end here. Because this question still remains that how do taxes matter when you're buying a toothbrush? While the taxes on salaries will have an impact on your expenditure limits, indirect taxes like GST will impact your daily spendings without you noticing. The amount you pay for most products in the market, like this pen, includes a GST, which you pay to the market and then the market finally pays it to the government. This way, you are paying slightly more than the actual price of the product by paying an indirect tax to the government. For example purposes, if the price of this fruit is 50 pence and GST on the fruit is 10%, then you will end up paying 55 pence in total. So the next time you're at a grocery store on a random Saturday night fishing for groceries for the coming week, thinking about, let's say, what to watch the next day, keep in mind that any changes in the GST will send ripples down to your pocket at the cash counter. This is Shivam Pachori signing off.